The coolest thing about having Leupold as a show sponsor is I've been an authentic, genuine customer of theirs for a very long time. I bought my first Leupold scope years ago. I now have the scopes, the spotters, the tripods, the bipods, everything. And my favorite piece of gear that I have, whether I'm guiding or hunting for myself, is going to be that BX4 Range HD Gen 2 binos. Man, these things are sweet. I love this company. I love the products. They're high quality. They're trustworthy. They've got a great warranty, and they're American made, which is a huge factor for me, as you guys know. So if you're going to spend your hard-earned money, make sure you're spending it with companies that align with your value sets. And if you're listening to this show, I have a feeling they probably align fairly closely with mine, and Leupold does just that. They support sportsmen. They support conservation. They support America, American jobs, American manufacturing, and high-quality products for a great value. You can't go wrong. Check it out at leupold.com. Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready to make this elk season your best season yet? If you answered yes, my friends, you are in the right place. From the Western Huntsman podcast, brought to you by Phelps Game Calls, welcome to the School of September, the most comprehensive elk hunting series on the planet. We bring you the world's top archery elk experts to talk strategy, calling, and everything else to get you one step closer to some of your wildest dreams. From the Broken Tine Studio to your knowledge toolbox, class is in session. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this episode of the Western Huntsman podcast, another School of September installment with my good buddy Steve Johnson. I'm going to give you guys a fair warning up front. When you find these good-ass hunters, they usually live kind of in areas that don't have the best of internet. So we're going to work with what we got, though. I mean, we're going to really try to plug through this episode. I think it's going to be okay for the most part, but we might have a few, cutting in, cutting out kind of things going on here. So we'll see what happens. So in this episode of School of September, we're going to talk a lot about, well, let me give you guys some context. If you've listened to the show a while, you know Steve already. He's been on the show a bunch. I've hunted with him a few times, and the reason why I wanted to bring him on this episode is because he's probably the best caller, one of the best callers I've actually hunted with myself. He's really intuitive with what is authentic, what elk respond to, what the elk see as authentic, and in fact, one of the days where in all my elk hunting career, I've had the most call-ins was because Steve was calling, and we just had elk. We had a little bit of luck that day too, Steve. I mean, we just picked the right drainage. Sure. But I mean, there was just bulls everywhere, and he's calling them in, and it was just a great day. It was a great experience, and it was early in the season too. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about wallows setups, how to hunt wallows, and give you guys a little bit. I think that those are two really critical things for September archery elk hunting. If you could figure out how to call, and if you could figure out how to hunt wallows, which some of the wallow information is going to be really critical going over it now. Here it is July 12th or something. So it's early enough to get out there if you've got some wallows located. We're going to talk about how to make those a little bit more attractive to elk, specifically bull elk. And so, Steve, my buddy, thanks for joining me again, man.
Thanks for the introduction. You're talking me up way more than I deserve. But no,
that's not true.
It's good. Not true. It's good to be on, man. It's good. I love just getting on here and just BSing, and we always have a couple drinks. It seems like when we're getting on the podcast, it's kind of nice. Definitely a good way to wind down on a Monday for sure.
I know. It's like Monday's on, and I'm extra grumpy because my air conditioner on my heat pump is down. This is a good question for the audience. Any of you HVAC guys out there, what's up with pressure switch going out on a heat pump? I got this 2-year-old 3.5-ton Bryant heat pump. pressure switch is apparently blown, and this guy is telling me that the parts are backed up to like August, which is just unacceptable on a brand new heat pump. If you guys got a good recommendation, or if it's a good idea to bypass this pressure switch, risking the compressor, hit me up at jim@thewesternhuntsman.com. Okay, that's out of the way.
Heck yeah. No, that AC is important this time of year. It is hot. It's 91 here at our place. What's it up at your place?
Yeah, it's like 87, but it's like man, we have these huge windows in the house, and this it's an older house and just was not properly insulated. So like when it gets hot, it gets freaking hot, and then I can cool it down at night because I have a whole house fan. But like right now, I don't want to be in here at all. But that's okay. We're gonna power through it. Yeah, so Steve, let's start off with just a real quick conversation and get wallows out of the way, because really the meat and potatoes, I think people really want to hear, everybody's different take on calling and how they're calling, and you're going to have your calls ready to go and all this stuff. And so let's knock out the wallow portion of this, and we'll kind of take it from there. And I kind of, what this will be is, you and I have actually hunted some of the same wallows over the years. When I still lived in North Idaho and whatnot. And I have kind of like two philosophies or two ways to hunt a wallow. And I want to get your take on this. And again, for if anybody forgot from 5 seconds ago, we're talking September archery elk hunting. Okay. So in regards to wallows, because some of you may not, a lot of people might not put this together, but wallows are also excellent for hunting bears and hunting big mountain bucks. So anyway, that's a whole other podcast, but right now we're specifically talking about bull elk during the September archery season. So I look at it, there's two ways to do it, man. Like you could find a good wallow, and you could hunt the 1 or 2 square mile radius around this wallow, utilizing calls and setups and sitting trails and whatnot to try to catch them off guard coming in and out of the wallow. Or you could actually hunt the wallow, whether you're in a tree stand or a ground blind, whatever, setup you want to do. And for me, that's kind of what my experience has been with hitting wallows. What say you? Do you have anything else to add to that?
So like, I always knew elk used wallows, right? Like we all know that when you find a wallow, like we all relate that to elk. I just never put time into them. I'm like, it's a spot where elk come to. And I never gave it more than that, I guess. And everybody most of your listeners that have been listening to you for a while, they all know like Tyler Oaks and Jacob Denham and those guys. And those guys all put a lot of time and effort into hunting wallows, and it's become real successful for them. And I kind of got some information from those guys, and they kind of shared it with me. I knew of some wallows, and some of the same wallows like what we're talking about, but I just applied some of this tactics, and it's an elevation thing. It's a position on the face of the mountain. So like my wallow, that I hunted last year, I actually killed my elk last year off a wallow. That wallow is around 4,000 feet elevation, and it's on a south-facing hillside. Mm-hmm. It's a big timbered hillside. It's not one that's, I guess, most people, when they think of a south-facing slope, they think of open area, like it's hot. And I found not necessarily on all south-facing slopes it's super hot. If you get into some big timber, even though the sun's beating down on it, you have a lot of shade, and those elk are, it's not as hot as what you would think, but it is the warmer side of the mountain. It's not like the North Faces where you've got the AC on. It's like a significant difference when you jump over. So that being said, I'll relate to another episode, and I can't remember the guy's name, but you did an episode with this guy, and he talked about antler growth on bulls and how bulls, and he did a study on them, and even when they're farm raised, if you moved them from one pen to another, they lose up to 80 inches of antler growth on their heads. So that whole, And then he's talking about some other things, but I guess what I'm relating to has nothing to do with antler growth or anything. It just has to do with, he mentioned something on that episode that an elk's perfect temperature where they're the most comfortable with, the most comfortable at or with or whatever. Sorry, I'm not a very good talker, but it was 20 degrees Fahrenheit. Mm-hmm. That is like, when you go to your house, I don't know about you, but I like 63, 64 in the house pretty much all year round. Like, that's my temperature. And everybody's different. But so I guess when you think of that, if you do have elk that are feeding on a south-facing slope, say it's like they've got the food there, or, there's something there that they're really drawn to, there's a lot of elk using that face. There's plenty of shade, but that middle of the day, they get up and they want water, because even if it's 70 degrees, it's a little cooler than, say, out in the clear cut where it's 90, 100 degrees. 70 degrees is still pretty warm for an elk, right? So they're going to want to find that water, and they're going to frequent that water more through the day. So that was some stuff that Jacob and Tyler taught me, that, using that's finding a spot where they can get water and they can wallow and they can cool off on that south slope, because they're still feeding on that vegetation. Not all elk are going to go to the north slope. I mean, you got herds moving through. It's the rut. You got bulls moving through. When they're tired and they need a break, like, they're going to bed down, and finding that wallow, they all know where those spots are. It's like having that spot to go and sit. It's kind of a key area to be at. I don't think all wallows are created equal by any means. And it's just like scrapes with whitetail. Like, not all scrapes are created equally either. You've got big community scrapes where multiple deer are coming to and using. And then you've got just scrapes that you find that a buck made one day. It's like, we find spots like that with wallows too, all over the place, where elk, they rolled in the creek there. There's a little seep coming out of the hillside, and they mudded it up. But looking at the sign on the ground and saying, like, okay, this is the spot that elk use all the time, like, frequently, and lots of other animals on the hillside, right? Versus one that, they come through maybe once a month. And I think there's a big distinguishing factor with, like, when you choose a wallow to hunt and set up on, there's a significant difference. And there's, that south slope to me kind of helped narrow down. Well, I guess it makes it more vital to them, so they're going to frequent it more. And that was something that Jacob and Tyler taught me that I thought, that kind of stuck with me, and it worked out last year. I'm excited to try it again this year, to be honest with you. But
I think, I mean, wallows, in my opinion, every elk hunter that has a significant time to spend in the woods needs to have a wallow in their back pocket, because, like you were saying, it is a frequent visit for these elk. They're going to come in and a lot of people ask and are like trying to nail down this. Well, what time of day is best to sit? Well, what time of day is best to sit? The thing is that they'll hit it 24/7. I've got pictures on cameras on wallows that prove that there is no set time in which it is most beneficial, but they do tend to get a little bit busier in the afternoon to evening. And so the reason why I like having a wallow, and this is for the listeners, in your back pocket, is because you're going to have days when you're out there where there's elk in a certain area. Maybe you've got this great north face slope or a drainage or whatever where you've got elk located, and the barometric pressures aren't right. It's sunny, it's hot, it's just not optimal for calling, and you can't even buy a bugle on those days, right? And so those are the best times to go sit those wallows. If you're going to sit the wallow in that way, that's really the best time to do that. Like when I'm guiding, kind of what the process is during September is we're going to go spend all morning calling, working ridges, working canyons, and working through timber, trying to get a response out of a bull. And at that point, we're gonna if we've got nothing going on, we're gonna pop back to the truck, have lunch real quick, and then we're gonna go hit a wallow for the rest of the day. And a lot of part of that too, Steve, is just because sometimes you get hunters, when they're coming to the outfitter, they're not in like peak physical condition, and they can't really work the country all day long. And so it's nice
100%.
to give them the wallow. But honestly, if you scale, I was asking both Rob and the other owner of the outfitter, like, hey man, where are most of the bulls getting killed in September? And he said most of them get killed over the wallow, over the wallows. And on top of that, the biggest ones are getting killed over wallows. And so, now is a really good time for people to locate these wallows and start putting cameras on where it's legal. I think there's several states that's not legal in, but I know Idaho, I think, for example, I don't think you could put a cell cam on them.
Yeah,
once hunting season opens, I think that's when that kicks off. So the rest of the year you can, but you don't need a cell cam. It's good exercise. Go in there and check that camera a couple times a week. But find these wallows and don't be afraid to enhance these wallows. You know what I mean? Like, take a little shovel in there and dig these wallows out a little bit deeper and pile that mud up on the sides. If it's a creek, a lot of times we're finding wallows up here in the bottom of a creek bed, or a creek drainage bottom, maybe a slow trickle creek or something, and it's just kind of pooling up a little bit. Enhance that bad boy. Bring in some rocks from around there, some logs or whatever, to help get that water a little bit deeper. And if you're going to sit that wallow, you've got to be really careful of wind, where you're going to put your tree stand or your ground blind or whatever. Find those areas that are most optimal, keeping in mind mountain thermals and like wind, breezes when a storm's coming in. Where you're less likely to be seen if there's like there's always going to be a couple of trails coming in and out, right? Like, don't sit right on those trails. Go find yourself an inconspicuous spot to set a ground blind or a tree stand that is going to be advantageous for the wind, and visually those elk aren't going to, just pick you off because you're sitting there, and you scratch your nose or something in a tree stand.
So I'll say something to that. Last year, the whole reason I picked the spot where I hung my tree stand up, and granted, I haven't done this a whole lot with the wallows, but as far as like, hey, I'm going to just religiously hunt wallows for this season or these couple days or whatever. But I literally went down there and picked the spot because from where I park my rig to where I get to my tree stand, it sucks to get there. It's blowdown after blowdown. It's tangled. It's nasty. It's not fun to walk through. It's a pain in the ass in the dark. It's not fun at all. The trails going down to that wallow are highways, but I literally picked the hardest spot to go through. I walk in there at 4:00 in the morning, and I had elk underneath my stand 5 yards this year that had no clue I was there. Whether they can pick my scent up on the trail or anything, I just think, like, we both whitetail hunt. We do a lot of whitetail hunting, and whitetails are super cagey. And I think that's kind of I think if you're a good whitetail hunter, you could be an excellent elk hunter.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially that kind of hunting.
Yeah, and picking those routes to get to your stand, like I know Troy Pottinger, Troy, like he talks about that a lot with his whitetail setups. It's like, hey, I sometimes I'll walk a mile out of my way to get in my stand if it means that buck can't pick up my ground scent. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so it's like I backed myself up. I've got the big ravine coming down on both sides, real steep, but I've got blowdowns that I have to navigate through to get down to my tree stand. And then when I get to my tree stand, there's a little bit of room there for me to finagle, get my stuff hung up, but it's very tight and congested with brush and stuff. So elk aren't going to want to go to that spot unless they want to check something out. And I leave all their trails alone. I don't even touch them, cross them, nothing. And that worked out. I believe that helped me out quite a bit with the wallow thing. It's like, treat it like the hardest thing you hunt, and they're a little more forgiving,
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. Like some do's and don'ts kind of thing, I think would be a good idea. Sitting over a wallow, tree stand, ground blind, either way. I think they both have advantages and disadvantages. I think tree stand is going to really help you get above the scent line a lot more and just kind of get you off the ground. It's going to give you a little bit better visual perspective of the whole area. But man, if it starts raining, you're just going to have to suck it up, Buttercup.
You're going to have to bear with it.
Yeah, just bear with it. Where, like, if you've got a ground blind, I think that also kind of helps lock your scent in to an extent.
Yeah.
It'll keep you out of the wind and the rain and all that kind of stuff. But it does kind of limit you visually.
Well, and then having just like having some knowledge of how thermals work, because most of these wallows, they're coming out of a hillside. They're the start of a ravine, right?
Mm-hmm.
And something I've noticed, I test it every time I go to the bottom of a real bad hellhole. And I've seen this work on north slopes, but I'll take my windicator and I'll spray it. And a lot of times you have some swirls going on. But I started actually, shoot, Jim, I've got some right here.
What you got there?
Milkweed.
Milkweed.
So I keep a packet of this in my bino harness every year, and it's milkweed. So I'll just, for guys that are watching, they'll be able to see it. But guys listening, they don't get to see it. Like when I get there now to my tree stand, I'll pull some of this milkweed out, and it just it's real light, fluffy. I keep a pack of this. You can pick it up off the mountain trails when you're walking into your stands or driving roads, hunting, doing whatever. But that shows you how the thermal's actually working down there in the bottom. And so now, like, I'll pull that milkweed out when I get to the bottom of a ravine. Say, I've got a whitetail scrape that I really want to hunt, or there's an elk wallow now. Then I did this on this elk wallow. So I got down there, and I've noticed this on several drainages. When you don't have a prevailing wind and you're just basing everything off thermals, if you have a creek or cold water running through that ravine, you throw that out, regardless of middle of the day, morning, evening. If you're close enough to that creek and you drop that milkweed, that cold air is all the coldest air in that ravine is at that creek. And it acts like a vacuum cleaner, and it will suck regardless. You walk 10 feet up the hill, it's going to be completely different. But at that creek, you drop your milkweed, and the thermal's always pulling down that creek. So water really plays a big effect on how thermals work in the woods. And like, if you bring some milkweed with you, and just put it out, try it sometime. Like, go to the creek, it acts like a vacuum, and especially if you got a creek with steep banks, there's a little bit of that air. So if you use that too, say you get down to your tree stand and you've got it set up on the edge of that creek, like where your feet are hitting, and you've gone through a whole bunch of blowdowns and everything, you get your feet down there, all that scent from your feet is going down. It's getting sucked like a vacuum down into that creek bottom and going out the bottom, regardless of what time of day it is. Now, prevailing wind is going to have an effect on that, right? Like that's what's going to cause your swirling and the mixing of the air. And thermals will do that too when you get some really hot air. But if you have like a cloudy day, say, where your thermals are they're pulling down until sometimes 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning. I don't know. It just, there's something I've been doing with the milkweed, and
I like that. I like the milkweed idea, man. It's free.
It's free. And it's free. The puffer does do a lot for you too. Like, when I get up in the tree stand too, you throw that milkweed out. Say you got, you're not 100% sure on your spot, and you're like, gosh, they're going to smell me when the thermals are rising. If you take that milkweed out and you cast it out from your tree stand, you can actually see how high your scent's really maintaining above where they're going to be and how far out before it starts to drop or do anything.
Sure. Yeah, I like that. What are some other
huge?
Like, thermals are a big deal, and there is an episode I put out. I don't know, it's like a couple months ago. I don't even know if it was that long ago, that talks just about thermals. If you guys want to go back and check that out, but thermals are a big deal. Well, and that's going to be pertinent to when we start getting into the calling techniques versus sitting in wallows. But I want to cover more like do's and don'ts, basic stuff, man. Like, don't pull out a ding dong and unwrap the thing and make a bunch of noise while you're sitting in a tree stand. Like
definitely
chip bags.
Be aware.
Yeah, be super aware. Keep your head on a swivel. There's, use your nose. A lot of times your nose will indicate what is about to happen. And don't trust your ears all the time. Like, a lot of people I've been guilty of this, and I've seen hunters do this while I was guiding and whatnot. Like, they'll be like, okay, I'm going to sit in a ground blind or something, and I've got this book on my phone, and I'm going to sit here and read. I'll hear something, and if it comes in, man, a 750 pound, 330 class bull that sounds like a freight train when it's running side hilling up a hill or something, they will just suddenly, it's like an alien dropped him right there in the wallow, and you won't hear him, you won't see him, you won't even know. There's something about the way they can move, and they're ever so quiet. They will just suddenly be there. And so that's like, fine if you want to read your book on tape or not book on tape. Man, that's going to age me. If you want to read your book on your phone, ebook, whatever you want to call it. But like every 15 seconds, 30 seconds, look up and look around. And if you're in a tree stand though, you got to be careful with head movement too. Like, if you're cranking your head left and right, man, a weary old bull's going to see that before you even know he's there, and you'll never even know he was there. And so that's another reason why I like the ground blind setup. My preference is always a ground blind, just because I don't have to worry about that, man. If I scratch my nose like this, there's not going to be a big old buck or bull or whatever that sees that. I feel like it contains your scent pretty well. I feel like it just kind of keeps you out of that weather enough, which isn't quite as important in September as it is, say, like, mid-November Montana rifle hunt over here or something, and so it's just little stuff like that. The other thing that I go back and forth on, and I've like kind of gotten into discussions, especially with other guides, is like, if you are using the wallow as a base point to start working an area and call, that's a great place to call from, as a wallow. And maybe you're just there for one day, and then you're going to move on to somewhere else, and not come back for several days or whatever. But if you're sitting that wallow on the daily for an extended period of time, I question whether or not making any calls is a good idea. Because if you call in, let's say a bull gets curious and starts working his way in there, but he busts you, whether scent wise, visual wise, whatever, you're busted. That bull is not going to come back to that wallow for several weeks. And so it's a risk. It's a very risky situation. And that is not like everything we say. I always feel like I have to throw this disclaimer out there. That's not always the case. Maybe you have a dumb bull. Maybe the bull, he's a Democrat, and he busts you, and like he comes back 10 minutes later. That could be. But in most cases, the bulls have enough common sense to kind of, they start relating that wallow to, okay, I'm hearing elk sounds, but every time I go over there, I catch a big whiff of a stinky human, and I'm out of here, and they're not going to come back. So what else? Is there anything else we should cover on wallows, man?
Think? I would say if just like, because I've called from wallows before, and something that's worked is just making sure if you're calling for somebody, it's not the greatest for a solo spot. I would, just in my opinion, but if you're calling for somebody, you can get in that wallow if you're the caller and really smash some water around, beat that water with sticks, make it sound like he's in there kicking, do some grunts and some huffs, and not necessarily bugling, chirping, nothing. Just blow through your tube, make it sound like you're working out, like you're angry, you're aggravated, make some disturbance, and like you give your shooter a real good chance. Make it real. If you're calling from a wallow and you're acting pissed off and it's completely quiet, it's probably not going to work out in your favor.
I dig it,
but
man. Cool.
You know me, I really like to get active with calling, like great things, and I'm not quiet when
Well, I think that's a good little transition point to let's start getting into some calls, man. Because I always I wanted to cover wallows because I feel like that's a spot everybody talks about it. Oh, go out and find a wallow. Okay.
Yeah.
But that's all that's talked about it. Nobody talks about how to hunt them, how to approach them, what not to do at a wallow. Let me touch real quick on where you're going to find wallows. For some of the new hunters out there, maybe they're not super familiar with mountains and how they work. Wallows can be in the most obvious and most unobvious. What's the opposite of obvious? Like somewhere you'd never think of. Boom, there's a wallow, right? Like so don't discount anywhere. I always look the
overlooked
spots, but like the easiest place to start, like the 101, the basic 101 wallow starting point is going to be the bottom of a drainage. There's going to be springs, and if there's a decent spring, there's going to be a creek. That creek at some point is going to pool up, and that is going to create a wallow. Now you found your wallow, check around, make sure somebody else doesn't have cameras on it, just because you don't want to, you'd be wasting your time and their time if you do that. Like, as hunters, I think we should be pretty cognizant as to not step on each other's toes. So like, I always give the respect, man, some dude already knows about this wallow. He's got his camera here. I'm going to move on and find a different one because there's going to be more. There's all, especially in the North Country. If you're in Northwest Washington, North Idaho, Northwest Montana, high country, Wyoming, Utah, Colorado, there's always going to be wallows. You get into southern Utah, southern Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico, I think those wallows are going to be a lot more difficult to find, and I don't have a lot of advice for it because I don't hunt those areas. But up in the North Country, what you want to start with is those creeks, those creek bottoms, the bottom of those deep drainages that have a lot of timber. Find those areas, and if you don't see a wallow now, in July would be a great time to make one because those elk will find them. And what I mean by that is find a slow trickling creek and just start kind of opening it up and dam it off a little bit. You don't make it super obvious. Don't bring in concrete. We're not trying to make it look like humans did it, but if there's some deadfall, grab a log, kind of slow that water down, pile up some dirt against that log to kind of help block that water in, just make it super enticing. That's my advice on that. Just make sure there's shooting lanes wherever you set up from. Make sure that, if you can't find wallows there, go start side hilling where it looks like there's random benches and enclaves in the side of the hill. You might find some wallows there. They're all over the place up here. So anyway.
Yeah, no, that's a great thing. I mean, just start on a drainage, find a drainage that you feel like you can tackle. And what I do is I start from the very top of it if I can, because most of our roads are up high. And I'll just walk that whole thing all the way down to the main drainage. Just like pick another one, and maybe one out of the 3 or 4 that you decide to walk down will have a wallow, and it'll give you a starting point. So
we've got this one drainage, man. Like if you walk from the top to bottom, there's 3. And I'm not going to name the name of what we call them, but there's the lower, the middle, and the upper, right? And they're all 3 extremely good. In fact, the lowest one is not even that far off the road. I mean, we're talking like 50 yards off the road.
Yeah.
And people driving by on that dirt road are never going to know it's there unless they get out and look. But it's actually a really good bear wallow. So anyway, okay, so let's transition this into calls. So
before we get going too crazy, could I take a pee break real quick?
Yeah, you take a pee
Sorry,
break.
Dude, I got an old man bladder now.
No, that's cool. I got one too, man. You're good. Go ahead, and
I'll be right back.
Yeah. Because I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about, Steve. I thought I knew all this stuff about calling, and I went hunting with Steve one time, and he's got like this very unique style of calling where it's not the kind of calling that he's going to walk into the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation bugling contest and come out the world champion, right? That's not what it is. What it is authentic sounding, emotional sounding. Like that's a critical part. I think we've talked about this a bunch on the show too, guys. Like emotions in your calls, like make a big deal. And I'll kind of demonstrate what I mean by emotional calls. Most people go out into the woods. I'm going to put my read in. Hopefully this picks up. Most people go out in the woods and this is what they do. Wait, I think there's a setting I have to do on my, let's see, background use phone or audio, blah, 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 blah. Hold on, man. I got to fix the settings on this so it picks up. Audio, Zoom L8. Okay. I think that'll work. I think that's good. I know this is annoying when we're sitting here. I'll try it. So let me know if can you hear this bugle when I do it?
Yeah.
That came through?
Yeah.
Okay, guys. So that was kind of like the typical, that's what you hear most hunters do. I'm going to do it again. They're going to do this doodle-doo, doodle-doo. And that's a good, you can
that's
get
better
responses.
than most typical guys are going to do.
But that's like the main bugle everybody hears. Yeah. And what I was driving at there, Steve, is like, you taught me how to actually sound like elk. And now I never use that bugle. I always start with something like this. Just real one note, maybe a couple little fluctuations and a quick cutoff. And I get more responses out of that when I'm locating than any other call that I do. And that's why I wanted to bring you on for this episode, because I want you to show these guys a lot of, this unique stuff that you do. So
yeah, what do you want to talk like?
Well, first of all, let's
start
by this. So everybody talks about, oh, do this call, do that call. Oh, I named this call the girl in estrus or the cow in estrus, and this one's called the lover's midnight moon call, and what, there's just all these goofy names. Let's back it up a little bit and let's talk about when you leave the truck. What is going to be your process to get into a calling situation? You leave the truck and it's time to maybe find what are you looking for to start your call? What are you looking for to make that first call? And what kind of first calls are you doing? And then we'll go from there.
Okay, so this will be fun because it all depends on time of day for me and what's going on and what time of year. I guess so I'll just start with this. I never use cow calls, and if I do, it's very rare. I do not like cow calls. I don't think that that's a good way to get a bull elk, is using a cow call. And I'll tell you why.
You are gonna have pitchfork people.
Send me the hate. And this is just my own personal experience. I've been calling elk since I was 13. I'm 37 now, so I've been basically blowing through a bugle tube for 24 years. Is that 24 years now?
I don't know. Am I a mathematician?
I don't know. You're smarter than me. Maybe here, let's do the math. It's got to be some, I don't know, 20 years. Okay, we'll call it that. And every time I've ever cow called, I know there are guys out there that know how to work the cow call, and they do very well with the cow call. And I guess I just put my focus in on bulls. And I know that if I want to get close to a bull that has cows, I don't use a cow call.
Okay.
I want to get in his brain and push his bubble. But so if I guess we can start there. Like if I'm trying to go after a bull that has cows, I'm trying to talk to his cows with bull sounds and ignore the bull. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I'm purposely not responding to him. I'm trying to just respond to his cows. And
okay,
that's kind of my process with a herd bull. I've just had really bad luck with cows, and a lot of that stuff is done with chuckles. So like something I don't do a whole lot of is the big extravagant bugles, maybe a locator bugle if the time calls for it. But a lot of the times I'm doing chuckles or grunts or huffing, puffing. I'll break some sticks. I'm not trying to broadcast it. I'm out here, like, here I am. I'm the big bad boy. Like, a lot of people put that into perspective where it's like you walk into the bar, and if you're the guy that comes in like ready to start fighting, most people are just turned off by it, and they're kind of just looking at you like, what's this guy going to do? They try to get away from the guy. If you come in kind of nonchalant and you're like, hey, what's up? You know, you say hi to some people when you're passing them. You're not putting red flags up.
Sure.
You're there, you're walking among them. Everything's good, quiet. Gosh, I don't know how to put this, Jim. I'm having a hard time getting the words out here. But yeah, you're just not intrusive, not trying to be intrusive right off the bat. Just making some subtle sounds that basically warms everything up.
Well, so let me ask you this with that. If you're out there doing that, I'll put it to you in how, because I'm a simpleton, man. I don't do complicated things. I'm a simpleton. So I think about when let's say I leave the truck and I start working down a ridge, and it's 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, because I love working down ridges once those thermals have shifted and those elk I know are bedded down. I love that time of day to do that. So I start working down, and I'm going to let out a locator bugle, that just like that one I just did.
Mm-hmm.
So in my mind, if I'm the elk, what I'm saying is, well, like when I was in the Marines, man, and we were training with radios.
Yeah.
What they would do is, instead, because this is when we're training, you're not using call signs or anything. The instructor, he'd be like, okay, so we're going to get on the radio, right? And we're going to go, hello, you, this is me, and blah, 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 break. Right. And so that hello, you, this is me has stuck in my head for a long time. So I think that's kind of like, I'm trying to put myself in a bull elk's brain. I'm going down and I'm going to be like, gosh, I'm lonely. Hello, you, this is me. And I'm letting out a little bugle. I'm not saying, hey, if anybody's out there, I'm going to beat your ass. I'm not saying, hey, if there's any cows out there, I'm better looking than the other bull. I'm not saying anything like that. I'm saying, hello, you, this is me.
Yep.
And I'm going to see who's responding with another, oh, hey, you, this is me. Right. And that's kind of how we're starting the conversation.
Exactly.
How do you see it?
So with that, like, sometimes what I'll do just to get, so I guess we just start there. We're trying to just get a response, right? We're just out there. So what I'll do is I'll get out of the truck, give it about 15, 20 minutes, let things quiet down again, let the squirrels go back to chirping, the birds go back to singing, like everything just kind of goes back to normal again. And if I haven't heard a response,
I call that forest homeostasis.
Yeah.
That's a great time to call.
Yeah, you just let things quiet down, go back to normal. And sometimes, honestly, to start the whole process off, maybe I'll just grab a big rock off the bank and roll it down the hill. Or I'll take a stick and just whack it against a tree. Just nothing crazy, just big whack or thud. Just something. And I'll see if that generates a response. Especially like if you're talking high pressured hunting areas, right? This tactic has started to work a lot better for me. Instead of just going out there and doing the, just instead of that, we're going out, we're going to whack a couple sticks, we're going to throw a rock, make some thuds, stomp the ground a little bit, and then just let things quiet down a little bit again. Sometimes you'll get a response to that. You'd be shocked at how many times you get a response just to that, and then
just to the stick.
Whack. Yeah. You're just going out. Man. You're making you're kind of making a statement. Like, okay, there's something there, and if there's an elk in the proximity, 500 yards or less, I just like to imagine them like putting their ears up and turning up the hill. Like, okay, what was that? That sounded too big to be a squirrel, or, you're making elk sounds. You hear them walk through the woods, they're thuds, crash, bang. Just even when they're just browsing, you'd be shocked at how loud they are. I know, but
yeah, they're super loud, man. Oh, you cut out. Hold on. We're going to hang in there for just a sec until we get Steve back here. Yeah, he kind of lives a little off the beaten path like I do, guys, and we just don't have great internet sometimes. Come on, where'd he go? There he is. Okay, you're back. We just lost you. Just an internet hiccup.
So anyways, I guess I'll go back to that. I like to imagine that elk turning its head, that bull that I'm trying to get to, like turning his head up the hill and looking, chewing on his cud, or, like, what was that? Should I be worried? And then I'll follow it. The next sequence would be like 20 minutes later. I'll just do kind of I call this like a tending chuckle. Just a real light, just. So I'm just doing real light. It's not aggressive. It's slower pace.
Real quick, Steve, just so for those of you listening that might be a little bit confused, if you need to back that up, hit the back 30 seconds and listen to that. That was not an accident. It is supposed to sound like those little hiccupy things. There's no squeal in it. There's no reed in it. That's exactly what he was trying to do. It wasn't like a sound mistake through the mics or something. Will you do that again, Steve?
Yeah. And I do use my reed just a little bit. It's just to kind of get that. You'll hear it. Maybe I can do it again here. Like it's a low pitch kind of. It's got a little bit of a note in there, but not really. You're not making a statement. You're just acting like a bull that's kind of maybe feeling his oats a little bit, or maybe he's talking to a cow. I don't want to go out there and blast yet. I'm just trying to make some elk sounds, get things, because in my mind, I've already got him to look up the hill at the stick breaking or the rock. And if he never bugled to that, that's okay. Now I'm just making it more real for him. Like, now.
So can I show, because you broke up a little bit, because guys, for those of you listening, this is money. This is what most hunters out there are not doing. Like Steve said, it's usually like Steve and I, back when I lived in Idaho, we hunted this unit that just got hammered by Doug Flutie 1, 2, and 3, and 10. And they're up there just making all sorts of crazy ruckus, and the elk know that it's them. They know. So he's doing this thing, and I don't know if I'm trying to just get it so it picks up a little bit better on the mics, but it's almost like a. Can you hear that at all?
Yeah.
You were able to hear that? That it's just like you can use the reed like you were, or the way I did it, just like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Just a little bit of voice, and it's just. All right, so here's what we need to do, man. Do you see the little 3 dots next to the hang up button? Sorry, guys. Sorry for those of you listening.
Yeah.
Hit that.
Okay.
Go down to settings.
Okay.
And are you on the audio setting?
Yeah, built-in microphone.
Yeah, so see where it says studio sound, filters out sound from mic that isn't speech?
Yeah.
Make sure that's off.
Okay, it's off.
Okay. Was it on before?
Yes, it was.
Okay, now try it again. Try that sound again. Sorry for those of you listening. I know that's annoying. So perfect. Now we can hear. Okay, now we're hearing it.
Like it's just a real light
money.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that that was one with the first one was with the reed, the second one's without it. But you're just trying to make a non-intrusive chuckle. And this is just I'll do it one more time here with the reed.
Perfect. And those breathy sounds he's making in there, guys, is absolutely necessary. And you'll see why. Because if those of you, if you haven't had like a close encounter with a bull, they do that constantly. They're just doing this crazy freaking little, and you can hear it. And I'm getting really excited, man. This is fun stuff.
You like if you've ever watched a bull elk in the rut walk up a trail, a lot of the time you just. Like they make a grunt, a breathing, deep breathing, and a bugle tube is a great way for us to kind of replicate that. And you don't have to. I think the whole misconception with elk calling in the market today, I mean, I love Phelps. I love Rocky Mountain. I like all the calls, but like they want you to go out there. And I'm not saying Phelps does this. So I don't mean this by any means, but everybody wants to sell a call. And they're like, yeah, get out there, make the bugle with the locator bugle, start with that and then work down. But a lot of like a bugle tube by itself without a reed on a certain bull, I've got a 60 to 70% chance of calling that bull in without using the reed at all and just using the grunts and the moans, the heavy breathing.
What tube is that you're using there?
This is the Phelps Renegade.
That's right, the Phelps Renegade.
Yeah.
Brought to you by Phelps Game Calls. Use promo code Huntsman10 for 10% off.
I love this tube because, like, if I'm glunk, like, I think this tube, honestly, makes the best glunking sound on the market.
Yeah, I do too.
If you glunk with your mouth, I think it does. I mean, you
personally
can do it with your hand.
Yep.
This is like the hand glunk, right?
That has worked for me.
But that's just with your mouth.
How are you?
Right?
Are you like you're using your tongue or something? For
yeah,
that?
Tongue and just a little bit of guttural. Just.
I'm gonna work on that. That sounds really good. That sounds really realistic, man. I like that. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
No, I plugged Phelps, guys, because Phelps is the name sponsor for the School of September. So I do got to throw that out there. I love that Renegade. That Renegade tube is the most versatile out of all of them. Man, something just like went up my nose, man. What the heck was that? Anyway,
I think honestly, like it works great. You can beat brush with it. It makes a great rake for trees and stuff, and it gives you that hollow sound. It's got it really amplifies, like if you're doing the heavy breathing, right? Like, it's great. It's a great freaking bugle tube. I love it.
Okay, so you've gone down. You smacked a stick to maybe get some attention, get the attention.
Yeah, so I'm trying to get their head to turn up the hill. I'm trying to get his head to turn up the hill, look at me like, okay, what was that? Maybe raise some awareness to the area that I'm going to start calling from. And then 20 minutes goes by, I never heard a response. So then I go into that. Do you do,
within that 20 minutes, are you doing those little like silent chuckle things?
No, not yet. So at the end of that 20 minutes, I'll just let it kind of go quiet again. And then 20 minutes later, I'll do the just real light chuckle, right? It could be either a tending chuckle. It could be a bull talking to a cow. It could be a bull feeling his oats. That is that chuckle in my mind. He just got up from his bed. He's kind of stretching out like, and then I'll let it go another 10, 15 minutes. A lot of times that second call, like after I do that chuckle, usually if there's a bull within that 500-600 yards, in the vicinity, I'll get a response. And most of the time it's just a real light, like a squealy bugle. It's nothing crazy. Just a, it could be like that, or like you'll get something like that from them. And then I'll let another 20 minutes go. And then I'll start raking a tree. And then when I start raking that tree, I'm trying to close the distance. So I'm trying to like pin him down, but I'm trying to usually, and I should probably back up. So when I'm calling from a spot, it's because I knew there's elk there. Like I've done my scouting, I've done my homework. These are spots that I've hunted for a long time. I know there's bulls in the area. So I'm not just going out driving blind. You can do that, obviously. Like you can go out and just drive around and do this as your calling scenario. It'll work. But these are spots that I'm, like, the areas where I'm at, we've got lots of roads. You can drive to them. You can park around the corner, walk up. So I know that there's elk there. I know kind of their habits. I'm starting my call sequence because I'm not trying to blow them out of there. So if I finally get that response, that's when I start to work in on that area. So it's like, I don't have to call anymore. After I got him to do that little light bugle, it's like, I know there's a bull there. Now we're going to start working in. And as I'm going towards him, I'm just kind of, I guess before I start going towards him, I'll get my onyx out and I'll make a pin of where I thought that sound was. was coming from, and I'll try to work into that spot. When I get within that 100 yards, 150 yards, when I feel like I'm starting to close the distance, you feel it too sometimes. Like you'll all of a sudden you just get this feeling like I shouldn't take another step, or listen to your conscience. It'll guide you in the right direction.
Pardon the interruption, but let's take a quick break to hear from our sponsors. A couple things I really love: American-made products and bow hunting. When you can put the two together, it just makes sense. It's a great combination, especially for me. I love this Easton Archery 6.5 bow hunter arrow. I've been pulling that thing back for a long time with this arrow and send them flying all over the place. So, guys, Easton Archery is a great partner for the Western Huntsman. It fits our values. It fits everything that we believe in. And American manufacturing is back, and it's ready to take over again like it used to be and how it should be. Whether it's hunting arrows, target arrows, components, stabilizers, accessories, you can shop it all, build your own arrows, whatever you want to do. Check it all out at eastonarchery.com for a full lineup, or check out your local retailer because they're probably going to have them too. Again, check it out, eastonarchery.com. Love these guys. I've been sporting this Browning X-Bolt, guys, and I got to tell you, I've been really happy with it. They even have now the X-Bolt 2, the Browning X-Bolt 2. This is this stuff. I'm always, if you're in the market, it's always cool because I get listeners that they like write in and they're like, hey, I'm in the market for this, I'm in the market for that. One of the most common things is a rifle. Like, what rifle do you recommend? And I don't know why they'd ask for my advice, but if you are, you can experience total accuracy with the X-Bolt 2. This Veritech stock is like adjustable. That's a really important feature with any rifle. So if you're longer or shorter than somebody else, you can adjust that stock. I love the DLX trigger. I love the weight. I love how smooth the action is on this rifle. You cannot go wrong with the Browning X-Bolt 2. It's legitimately a step up from like these over-the-counter type rifles. If you're gonna stick to that over-the-counter rifle lineup, the Browning X-Bolt really deserves a second look and serious consideration because it's not going to let you down. I absolutely love both of mine. Check them out at browning.com. Thanks for listening. Thanks for those who support our sponsors. Let's get back to the show.
But yeah, so then I'll get up there and I'll start raking a tree. I just grab this bugle tube and I'll literally pick a piece of willow brush and I'll just start kind of banging it around. Nothing crazy, not violent, just kind of making some noise. And then maybe every once in a while, just throw in and then you're raking and you're doing the huffs, and maybe do a couple stomps on the ground with your feet, break a branch, let things kind of sit for a second. Usually by then, if you've closed the distance, now you're getting a little bit of a different response, and he'll probably be a little more like, you'll get kind of a little bit more like, hey, you're kind of like, I know you're there, you're getting a little close, or he's just like, he's not pissed off, but he's like letting you know with a little more vocal now that he's like, yeah, you're kind of pushing the boundaries, buddy. So at that point, then I'll be quiet for a little bit, maybe work in. I've got a new idea of where he's at. I'll look at my Onyx and see like, yeah, am I still going the same direction that I thought he was? Is he hung up there? Like, okay, good. Then I'll get in there. I'll start with a real light raking, and then I'll start to build it. And I really start to build it. And then I'll really start huffing through the tube. And it's like a real aggressive, like, I'll really start huffing. Is the more I work that tree and the more I rake on it, like I'm showing like, okay, I'm exerting a lot of energy into this. Now I'm going to see how he reacts to that. And if he's not responding to that, go ahead. Sorry.
Are you doing those real huffy puffy sounds as like in conjunction with the act of raking?
So
you're raking and you're doing that. Okay.
Yeah. And honestly, the older I get, that's my actual breathing. I'm just doing it through the tube now because it's like it wears me out to take a freaking 4-inch stick and start ripping on the brush. And so I'm showing my emotion. I'm showing that, hey, it's a workout. Like, he's aware, like, okay, yeah, elk do that. When you hear a bull raking on a piece of brush, you might not always hear that breathing, but they're breathing hard, and elk pick up on a lot of that stuff. And just showing those little details in your calling, like when you start raking on a tree and you're ripping the brush, they're not sitting there not breathing, and they're very loud animals. Like, I don't know if people have heard bulls snort, or have you heard of bulls just snort or breathe louder?
Oh, yeah.
It's like I mean, they really push a lot of air. So I do that while I'm raking. I am like blowing through my tube, grunting, making a ruckus, and you're either gonna get a response or you're not at that point, right? Like, either he's not quite worked up enough yet, or he is worked up enough yet, and you've slowly kind of just progressed him into like, okay, no, this is my spot, bud. And a lot of times, like, if you're within that 50, 60 yards, you get that bark chuckle. Have you heard the bark chuckle?
I've heard
it's like, hey, show yourself. Like, or, they'll come in and so it's like, so, like,
I love when they do that, man.
If you work him up to the point when he does that, it's like, it's almost more of a, so they'll do that, and then when you get them, you get them to that point. Okay, now you got to start thinking like, where's my shooting lanes and stuff, because he's been in the same spot, and you slowly worked your way to him this whole time. So you've gone you've taken him from like a neutral mood to a pissed off mood to, I'm still standing my ground. I'm not sure what's going on. Why are you? And now he wants to see you. And when he does that, like, ooh,
that is a callable bull, isn't it?
It is, yeah. A lot of people think like an elk barking is a bad deal, and like it just depends on how they bark and what they put it in conjunction with. Like an elk barking with chuckles to me is like a killable bull. A bull just barking, like, yeah, you ruined it. He smelled you, he saw you, something's up. I think you're still callable, but yeah. So you get,
if he barks and you're making eye contact with him, that's probably over. But if you just hear him bark in the brush or whatever, I've recovered from that a couple times. It's usually, it's tough, but you totally doable. It just depends on how fired up the bull is. That's
and
the
a
thing
lot of times it doesn't always just go right to that bark chuckle. And it's like, I really fast pace this. Like, we're talking an hour of calling, hour and a half, maybe 2 hours of calling. And he might throw a few bugles in while you're walking down there towards him. And there's a lot of this stuff. It's just, I mean, a lot of elk calling for me anymore is just scenario driven. It's just like adapting on the fly with the elk. Like, okay, what noise is he making? That's not like a bull. So if he's just doing that weak sauce bugle where a lot of guys would call it like a locator bugle, or just like, hey, where you at? Keeping tabs bugle. Just like building them from there and building them up into either a bark chuckle or like a real quick scream, or a scream, a chuckle, and they call it like a double bugle where he comes up, drops off, chuckles, and then starts that high note up again. Like, those are all aggressive bugles to me.
Yeah. I got a question for when you were saying you're working your way in, right? And like sometimes they bugle at you. Do you answer them every time, or do you kind of let them sweat it out a little bit?
No, I like to make them like sweat it out. I think they're used to people calling to them every time, right? Like every time he calls, you're going to call back. And I don't play that. I try to keep a little bit more on the quiet side.
Okay, so and then let's say you've worked down, you've gotten to the point where he does that bark chuckle thing, right? Yeah. And let's say at that point he's maybe 80 to 100 yards. I've got North Idaho in my mind, so I'm thinking real thick and brushy, right?
Yeah, thick, nasty stuff.
Yeah, it's just nasty stuff. But it could be a little bit more sparse, or whatever for whoever's listening where they're going to be hunting. let's say you get down, you set up a couple of shooting lanes. You've got one here and one kind of off to the right or whatever. And like that bull is a little bit hung up. He's not wanting to commit any further. What do you do at that point? Are you trying to really just piss him off? Do you go at him? Do you draw back and call and then come back up forward? Like what are you doing to try to unstuck a stuck bull at that point? Because this is where a lot of hunters, including me, I get hung up.
I literally just go bold. I'm a bull, and I imagine a bull. I don't know. I run right at him. I really do. I will run at him until I see color. And I've spooked bulls. I've done this where I have literally ran at a bull to the point where I could see the color of his hair and got him to jump and run back and then screamed at him and then ran a little further and had him come back into the shooting range.
Yeah. I love that, man.
And a lot of people are really scared. And it's a bold move, guys. Like, it's not something like, I'm not going to say go run at every single bull. But if you've played the game with him long enough and he's doing like those things where he's like that bark chuckle, right? That bark chuckle is like, hey, I want you to show yourself. And then you come charging through the woods. He sees movement. He hears things. Elk aren't that smart. And people give elk a lot more credit than they deserve. You can get away with a lot with an elk where you can't get away with a lot with a whitetail, right? So one day it was like, I was by myself. It was the last hope. It was like, I don't know what else to do. I was in that situation where like, I'm here, he's there. What do I do? I just ran at him until I saw hair. Mm-hmm. He jumped and ran back, and I screamed at him with the big challenge bugle. So I did just a real high pitch, real fast chuckles. Just like, hey, I'm throwing some emotion into this call, like a lot of emotion into it. And he turned and he came into 15 yards and I freaking missed him. So I would have hit his vitals, but there was literally a piece of like a tag alder bush, like North Idaho tag alder.
Oh, yeah. It
was like 2 inches. I center punched that tag alder and my arrow was stuck right in that thing. It was just like, dang, I lost my glasses. I lost a bugle. Actually, here's the bugle tube. I actually found it. So the mice chewed all of the freaking felt off of this. This was what is this? The bugle and bull game calls.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this is still a great call. But yeah, this was the bugle. I lost it up there. I lost my.
It's super interesting. The lessons that you learn from those missed shots, they stick in your mind so much more than, like, I've been talking about that bull I was telling you about last night for 2 years now almost. Yeah. That one where I just misgauged the distance because my rangefinder at the time failed me, man. And I like always looking for something to blame, I guess, and what better villain than my rangefinder? And it didn't. I couldn't get a range on him, so I guessed it. And the broadhead's still stuck in that deadfall where that arrow hit right under his belly. But the thing is, man, I took so many lessons. That particular bull, I could not get him to clear some brush. And finally he lost interest. I couldn't move around this tree because he would have busted me. And so he just kind of turned and like casually walked back into that thick tag alder like you were talking about. And I went just a trucking at him, man. And that pissed him off. He turned around and gave me that shot. And that's where I couldn't get him in the rangefinder and thought it was 40, ended up being 54. And that arrow just stuck. I mean, it was a perfect shot if it would have been the correct distance and I'd had the right pin on him. But the thing is I'm really thankful I had that whole experience, like almost to a point where, other than he was a really good bull, I'm almost more thankful that I missed him because every little step of that call and that entire sequence leading up to that arrow leaving my bow, I remember it. I remember it like it was yesterday. And those hard lessons are really what is going to make everybody that goes through those a better, wiser, and more experienced hunter. Just somebody that is going to have those deep connections to what it means to fail, because you're going to fail a lot more than you're going to succeed. And it's just like all we're trying to do in shows like this is try to maybe help you fail a few times less, but because every elk hunter that's done this for a certain amount of time, we all know, you make it sound super easy, and we all do make it sound super easy. Oh yeah, I start with this little call, and then I do this, and then I move in and I close the distance, and here comes a bull. That's in an ideal 100% perfect, like all the stars aligned. The thing is you had to do that process probably 100 times to get to a point where you released an arrow. And that's what hunters, I think, miss the boat on, is they think that they're going to listen to School of September and watch a couple of YouTubes and just spend September going out on Saturdays with all the other hunters out there and just hunt those 4 Saturdays or 5 whatever it ends up being, and think that that's going to create this consistency of notch tags. And it's not. It takes the time in the woods and the commitment to getting out there and getting yourself into these scenarios where, like, I've always had this thought that you have to earn that success from a standpoint of you've got to screw it up a few times before you get that really good opportunity. And then you got to screw up that good opportunity a few times before that opportunity comes together. And I know that there's lucky dudes every year I read about or hear about or watch or whatever. I should post that video of when I released that arrow you were talking about, that one you shot it right through the tag alder. Yeah. I had that type of real thick timber where the bottom half of the trees just has these dead little branches.
Yeah, and
there's just twigs everywhere,
invisible until you shoot.
Yeah, and it's just like in the heat of the moment, you don't even see that, and I've got one of those Tacticam little cameras on my shoulder. Yeah. So when I drew my bow, this is back when I was shooting right-handed. When I drew my bow, the camera is pointing right at where my arrow's going to go. And I've never posted it because of how embarrassed I was about how I didn't notice those little twigs, man. And that arrow bounced off of every freaking branch from me to that bull and totally missed him, and it's just, I should post it. Like,
I think I think people say this a lot, and I'm just going to reiterate it, is like, don't get stuck on one thing. Like, just because I say all I do is bull call, I think cow calling's worthless. Like, you need to take little bits and pieces from everybody. You need to take a piece from Jim. You need to take a piece from Dirk Durham. You need to take a piece from Travis Schneider. You need to take a piece from, you know what I mean? Like Tom Schneider, like all these guys that are putting this content together for you. Like, don't just say, hey, like, oh, Joe Gillia with Elk Bro says do this, or you know what I mean? Like, no, like, take a little bit from everybody and just make your own formula.
Exactly.
And don't get stuck and don't get scared about, oh, am I making the right decision or the wrong decision? Because you're going to make the wrong decision no matter what you do. It's always going to happen. It happens to everybody. Nobody goes out and on day one of the season and kills a freaking 300-inch bull because they were like, oh, I'm doing this process. I'm gonna bugle this way. I'm gonna call from right here. I'm gonna go down there. I'm gonna shoot this herd bull. Like, no, never happened once. Even guys that put in time all season long, they know where the elk are. They have a game plan, but they have a starting point, and it's like there's certain levels to elk hunting. There's getting your first elk. There's getting your second elk. Then there's getting like, okay, now I'm going to start targeting like a 300-inch bull. Okay, now I want to shoot a 380-inch bull. It's like, don't go from never elk hunting to I'm going to go shoot a 380-inch bull. Get a couple spikes under your belt. Shoot a cow. Like, learn elk behavior.
They're going to taste better.
Experience. Like, start messing up. Go out and
my goal this year, actually, with my Idaho tag, because you can shoot spikes in Idaho. I'm gonna try to shoot a spike, man. I'd love to, because they taste way better. You get a little less meat, but dang, they do taste better. I shot a spike
last year.
Yeah, that and another. That's all great advice what you're talking about, because another thing that I'd throw in there too is, like, don't shy away from hunting with other people. Like, just if you've got an opportunity to go hunt with somebody that's been hunting either less time, more time, or the same amount of time as you, their experience and their perspective may be way different. Like, I'm way older than you. I have a lot more experience on the mountain than you do. However, I don't know of a day that I have learned more hunting with somebody than that day, that first time you and I went out. I think that was that one time when we were getting all those call-ins. I
Yeah.
learned so much because I'm not like an egotistical maniac that thinks I know everything. And you have better stats than me, and you've learned stuff that I haven't learned, and for some reason you're just a better hunter than me, even though
But
I've been doing it for way longer. And so it's like, never close yourself off. You will learn
100%.
so much by going with somebody else. And there's a lot of other dudes that I can throw out names, that I go out with, and we get back to the truck, we start heading home, whether we got a dead animal or not. It's like, man, the value of what I just experienced and learned by hunting with this individual is by far more than I'll ever get out of some podcast. And not,
100%.
I love my podcast. Don't get me wrong. You'll learn a lot on these episodes.
No,
and
for sure.
other shows out of there. But
the
yeah,
same time too, like it's you start to gain knowledge, or if you feel like, oh, this guy, he's been doing this for years. Like, don't discredit the people that haven't been doing it for a long time either, because if you just like, they might have experienced something and be wanting to talk to you about something, and it's like, well, if you just go to, well, how long have you been elk hunting? Oh, you got a lot to learn. Like, that is just the wrong, like, you can
dude.
learn
Oh,
just
man.
as much from the new guy as you can from the guy that's been doing it for
I
a
am
long
a perfect example of that, man. I went on my first elk hunt in like 1991 or something, like somewhere around there is when I went on my first elk hunt. I don't know that I was even of legal age yet. I would have been 11 years old in 1991. So I don't know. I don't think I was the shooter, but that's when I first started elk hunting. But the people that I was elk hunting with had no idea what they were doing. And so for the next 20 years, I spent wasting my time. I had a few close encounters. I think maybe, I don't know. It was at some point I realized, man, everything I know about elk and that I was taught as a kid is wrong. This is not working. This is like the definition of insanity, because I keep going out expecting different results by doing the same crap. And then I started digging into it and reading books and watching YouTube channels. When this was like when they were first coming out,
Yeah.
And it wasn't until like 2014, roughly, that I started consistently finding myself able to locate elk, get encounters, get arrows in them, get elk down, all that stuff. It didn't start happening until like 12 years ago, man. And, it was my ability and what I worry about a lot. You know how hunting is just so full of ego and so full of, especially in men, like we just have this thing where it's innately built within us. God has a sense of humor. He wants us to think that we are the bomb diggity bomb when it comes to hunting, right? And so a lot of dudes go their whole life thinking they know what they're doing. I could like name people right now I think of when I talk about this. They go through their whole life thinking that they are world-class hunters and never open themselves up to new information, new perspectives, new strategies, listening to guys like Steve Johnson, how they call, and man, they never kill an elk. And so that's why we do this show.
Like, for the biggest takeaway of anything, it's like we could all talk about the way we call and how we set up, and like every scenario is different. And if you're new to elk hunting, you're gonna learn this, right? Like, you're never gonna have the same setup twice. It's always gonna be different. The wind's gonna be blowing this way this time, or the bull's responding to you a little different, and it's just like, learn to get a gut feeling of what is actually going on. Like, and that's why I say, like, when I hear, like, take chuckles for example. I know, like, I'll just go with this. Like, there's in my head there's 5 different chuckles, and they mean 5 different things to me. And that's just something that's developed in my head over time. Like, I even wrote them down for you here. You got a display chuckle, you have a bark chuckle, a challenge chuckle, a tending chuckle, and then you got the bedded chuckle. And those are the 5 chuckles that I think about all the time when I'm out there in the woods.
Oh man, I love that. Okay, so, we need to go through a little. You okay on time for a minute?
Yeah, no, we're good. Go ahead.
First question that comes to mind with this, and I've had people on the show that have this mindset. What do you say to the people that are like, Elk don't actually chuckle. I never hear them chuckle. That's not even a thing. Don't even bother learning it.
Bullshit. That's what I got to say.
I couldn't agree more, man.
I think if you leave chuckles out of your calling game, you'd be sadly mistaken. And I think also you need to just develop your own understanding of what those mean to you. Like, just because that's what I call them doesn't mean that that's actually nobody's going to ever know. You can't get in an elk's brain and say, oh, that's exactly what he's saying. If somebody says, well, this elk's saying this because of this, that's a theory that they developed from watching elk over a long time. And it's not wrong. Mm-hmm. It's just, we'll never, as humans, we'll get close, but we will never know exactly what they're talking about. But we can base it off of emotions that we feel when we're in certain situations. And you can tell the emotion of a bull. If you're calling to a bull, like, listen to him. And I guess that's like the biggest takeaway for anything. It's just like, listen to him from when you start calling to the end. And a lot of guys, when they start their calling sequences and the first sound that comes out of an elk, and they're like, oh, that's a raghorn.
Yeah.
Have you heard this?
I've heard a lot of it.
I can tell, like, if it's a bull we're chasing or not. Like, no, I've heard big bulls make the weirdest, nastiest sounds. And I used to have that mentality.
That is so true, man. Like it goes both ways too. They'll be like, "Oh, that's a big bull," and it comes out it's a raghorn. Now you can't tell. And all this kind of circles back to what we were talking about with the open to like your experiences. You don't like cow calls, but my experience. Look at this bull, that old Broken Time's up there. Do you see him? That bull hated bugles. He hated chuckles, but he loved cow calls. And the reason he's dead is because I called him in with a cow call. So we all have different, 100%. and you and I, we're not gonna fight over that. I tend to lean more towards what you said. I've had much more consistent success using a bugle tube versus cow calls, but cow calls can work, and that's very much dependent on the mood of the bull. But getting back to your chuckle list, I've had really good, highly successful hunters on this show tell me, don't waste your time with chuckles. That is not my experience, man. No. Every bull that with the exception of old Broken Times back here, every bull that I've put an arrow in has, I incorporated chuckles in one way or another. In fact, one bull that I killed, I called him Mr. Chuckles. I say we, my daughter's with me on that one, because he'd never bugled. He only chuckled. Just chuckled. That's all he did. So I'm super curious, what is the bedding chuckle that you wrote down there?
I've just got a quick question for you on that bull that you said never bugled. He just chuckled. Were you cow calling when you did that?
Nope. He didn't respond to cow calls. Okay. He didn't respond to bugles either. He only responded when I'd randomly start chuckling. And that's a really good, everybody wants to go to this locator bugle when they're first out there. Man, sometimes forget the locator bugle, do the chuckles that Steve was showing you. And this is where I learned that. Almost every time I start a calling sequence, I'm starting with that chuckle. And it's just usually a non-aggressive, just a little, just like you were doing. You sound like a little mini gorilla going, just real quiet. It's and there you go.
Like
exactly. And that will elicit, because it's non-threatening, right? These bulls are not there might be a bull down there 200 yards, he's bedded down, chewing his cud, he doesn't have a carry, he's got a couple cows maybe laid up, and he hears something like that, and he's going to respond because you're not scaring his pants off by coming at him with some aggressive bugle or even a locator bugle. It's just like this, hello you, this is me. And he's gonna say back, well, hello you, this is me.
Right.
And that's what starts the whole thing. That's all you're trying to do.
You're just trying to elicit that, yes, I found a spot with elk, and yes, there's an elk down there. Like, you're just trying to get that to where, okay, now I have a starting point. There's an elk there. I'm hunting in a high pressured unit. That bull is worth chasing. And you know this for around here. Like, we could drive around for 2-3 hours, 4 hours, a whole day, maybe 2 days before you find elk. And when you finally get one to respond, we don't have the numbers here like we did. I think we're getting better. Like, our numbers are getting up there, but You don't just pass. Every bull is an opportunity now at this point.
I couldn't agree more, man. And
you got to capitalize on it, and you got to say, okay, well, here we got a response. There's elk. We're not going to leave elk to go find elk that are in the mood, right? Like,
yeah,
a lot of guys, and like, to each their own. I'm not knocking anybody by saying, like, oh, he's not hot enough for me, I'm going to go on, like, if that's your game, if you want to just hunt that hot, red, fired up bull or whatever, like, awesome, go for it. I'm not.
Yeah, go for it. No,
I don't want to take anything away from that, but
you're probably passing up 50 bulls before you get there.
Me, I'm literally like, dude, you had a guy on your podcast that said, my freezer is my trophy. Like
Michael Bozarth, man.
Yeah, that guy, I love that statement, and that's exactly how I feel about elk. I mean,
Michael, if you're listening, I really am hoping and praying that your knee is healed up, buddy. He just had his knee worked on, and hopefully he's all geared up and healed up for season, because I'd sure hate him to have to miss a season. But yeah, no, that's me too, man. My trophy room is my freezer.
Yeah,
and the other part of that too, Steve, like, dude, what we're talking about, the more time you spend in elk country and around elk and hear them, what you'll come to find is what you're describing is just the natural way that elk communicate. And look at it like this way, like, everybody listening has walked into a gas station or a convenience store to, buy a cup of coffee or whatever. When you walk in and somebody's coming out, you don't really care about that person that you don't know. You don't like them, you don't hate them, you don't whatever. It's just hey, how you doing? And hey, how you doing? Back, right?
100%.
That's how humans. You don't open up the door and say, "Hey, pal, what in the world are you doing here?" That's not. You gotta. That's what we're talking about. It's just the natural way that these elk kind of communicate and talk to each other is exactly what you demonstrated.
To your point too, it's go spend a month in September in North Idaho in one spot and see how many bulls are out there doing that locator bugle up here all day long. Every 10, 20 minutes they're doing that. Like, that is non-existent.
Doesn't happen.
It really is. And you, like, yes, I'm not saying there aren't days where we go out and it's just like, what the heck? Like, the floodgates open. It just sounds like a freaking symphony down there in the bottom. But
you could sound like a gay coyote and calling a bull on those days. But most of the time, these bulls are just not in that position. But I really want to get back to your list of chuckles.
Yeah,
man.
No, let's go. So I guess that's why I really started playing the chuckle game and the moans and the grunts, is because, like, they're, to me, a chuckle, depending. So, okay, let's go with this one. This is the display chuckle. This is my display chuckle. So, like, when you have a bull that's like, he's got his cows, okay? He's a herd bull. He has a large harem. And here, a large harem might be 6, 7 cows. But this is like when he's fully rutted up and he's got a satellite bull, and it could be one satellite bull here. We don't have these mega herds where we've got multiple satellite bulls, but you got a bull that's like, hey, I'm defending my harem. Like, this is, the cows are walking out through the woods and he's tracing them. And this is the bugle and the chuckle that I would call like a display. Like, he's letting everybody know, like, I'm big, I'm bad. This is it. Like, it's
perfect,
loud, it's long, it's got real high notes in the chuckle, like, and a lot of guys think that is a lot. I've heard a lot of guys relate that to a locator with chuckles. And to me, that is, like, so wrong. And I'm not going to.
It's not what he's doing.
Out, but that is not, like, that to me is, this bull is a herd bull. He's got his cows. The cows are walking off to a feeding area. They're moving. Like, I believe the cows dictate where the herd goes. The bull never dictates. He never rounds them up. He is simply following them. And anybody that tries to intercept while they're moving from bedding to feed, like, he's throwing out these big displays and these big large notes, and, like, I'm the tough guy, stay away. Like he's trying to keep everybody away. He's trying
It's
to be the
also,
loud guy at the bar.
yeah.
Does that make sense?
That's absolutely, man. And I love it. Like it's also the exact set. That's the exact sound they make when they go check a hot cow from behind and that cow denies him. I always like it's almost like he's got to reclaim a little bit of ego he lost, right? And so he'll do that sound. He'll do that exact call right there. And I love it. And so no, I'm glad you brought that one up. That's a really important one. That's not where you come in with a big challenge bugle, because you're going to send that whole herd. The cows are going to take off and the bull is going to take off in most cases. Again, there's no 100%, right? I'm always worried people,
so
but watch some videos.
So if I do hear a bull doing that, I'll say this, like this has worked for me. And actually, my brother missed a really good bull 2 years ago because of this whole scenario. Like it just didn't work out. But so what I do is I would like take some note on where that bull was right in the drainage. And it's like, okay, I'm not going to call from right here because I'm 500 yards away and he is just going bonkers down there. I'm not going to start calling my way to him. I'm going to let him do all the calling and I'm going to work my way to him and get just, he's letting you know where he's at. The cows are moving, like the sounds, like you just need to be quiet and pay attention to all those little details, where he's at. And then I'm going to work in close and I'm going to start what I call tending chuckles. So this is like, to me, this is a bull talking directly to his cow.
Yep.
In my head is he's just like he's got his nose up there. He's like trailing her. He's stopping. He does that chuckle.
Checking. Yep.
And he's back at it, and he's doing a couple little. And maybe even if you're close enough, he'll do this. So like that to me is a bull, like he's working his cows. They're not moving. He's kind of just circling in and around them. He's meandering. And then if you got a satellite bull off to the side or something, that's when you're going to hear that bugle. I don't think that bull's necessarily going to like bugle right at the cow. I mean, I've seen them do it. I know they do it, but most of the time it's real light, subtle calling when he's talking to him. He's trying to be gentle. He's trying to like, hey, baby, let's go over here. Let's go check this duck fur out, Let me seduce you. Like,
yeah. No, it's great.
That's what goes through my head. And so like, that's when, I'll ignore the bull. He'll bugle at me. He'll fire back and he'll do the challenge bugle. It's like everybody calls a challenge bugle, followed by some challenge chuckles. And a challenge chuckle, if you haven't heard one, sounds similar to this. Like if you're doing the bugle and the chuckle, he might fire at you when you're doing those light chuckles. If you close the distance and everything, he's going to sound like this because he's pissed off. If you've got him locked down, this is what he's going to do. He's going to... Like he is like,
yep.
The chuckles are fast. His bugle's short, snappy. Like, get the fuck away from me. Get away from my cows. I'm gonna fuck you up. Sorry for
He's getting excited.
But, like, it's
hey, when
right?
when you're doing that bugle, you're pointing it right at the laptop or whatever. Try to point it just a little bit away. Here. So I don't want it to like clip out. Do that one more time. Nice.
Is that
nice? Better? Yeah, a lot better. So like, I think the other one will be fine too. I just worry it's going to clip a little bit. So
I'm sorry, I'm not using the reed I normally use. My Mavericks are all blown out. I didn't realize that, but yeah. Anyways, it's a fast, sharp, usually 2-note. Like it kind of builds into a high note. It's hard to explain, I guess, but you're not starting at a low. Like you're not starting like this.
Yeah.
It's like instantly into that high. Like,
yep.
You notice the difference?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Like,
yeah.
You've got
there's two different emotions going on there. And yeah, I think you nailed it. Which okay, so that was the challenge
So,
chuckle.
yeah, that to me, like if you've closed the distance, you've done everything right, you've got to that point where you've got that bull, he's been making all the noise, and then you get in close and you just start those light, like real light chuckle with a little note in there. That to me is like, I'm talking to your cows. I'm not talking to you. I'm ignoring you. And he'll fire back. If you've pushed his buttons enough at that point, that's when you'll hear that challenge bugle / challenge chuckle. Like it's real fast. And you'll notice that like the whole demeanor of that elk changes, right? He goes from talking to the cows to now he's talking to you. And if you ignore him and you keep talking to the cows, you're just building that emotion more and more and more. And then that, like, you need to get ready at that point, in my mind. Like, if he's already done that challenge bugle, challenge chuckle, you should be looking for your spot. And while you're working up to that spot, if he's still just hammering, like, throw your bugle behind you and just keep doing that chuckle. Like, you're just trying to talk to those cows. You're trying to point that bugle away from him, point it behind you, get it to where it sounds like the noise is that way. Because most of the time when they get to that point, you don't have time to set up. Like, it's going to go down quick. But yeah, and then we've talked about the bark chuckle. Like, that bark chuckle to me is like a bull. He's kind of hung up in a spot and he wants you to come the rest of the way. And I see that a lot in the early season with bulls that don't have cows. It's like they'll do that bark chuckle. It's like he's like ready to go. He's ready to start filling his oats out. He's ready to start gathering some cows. He wants to test how big he is compared to everybody else. He just hasn't done it yet. And he wants you to come out first and show yourself. Like, hey, I made it this far. Now you need to come this far, right? You need to come the rest of the way. Like, let's meet in the middle. Like, he's not going to run in on you, but he's on that verge. You can still build emotion. So it's like, I just think, like, moral of the story, end of the day, like, listening to him and listening to how that bugle escalates, like, from, like, a bedded chuckle, right? That's just like a, like, it's real. Like,
those ones to me are the toughest, man. I don't know how to respond to them.
Like, they don't have, they're not standing up.
And have you heard them do this? It's the exact. They're in their bed. Maybe you bugle and they just kind of go. That's it. Like, what do you do? Like, I've never been able to quite it's like overcome that one, if that makes sense.
Like, it's
exactly.
Just, he doesn't have enough air in his lungs. He's laying on his side, and you just, like, imagine you in bed, like, trying to talk loud to your wife to get you a cup of coffee. Like, you're not standing up. You can't get a full breath there. Like, I'll take some coffee, right? Like,
yeah.
You woke him up. He's like, dang, okay, what's up? Like, I don't know. So, yeah.
What do you do when you hear that? What do you do? Is there a call that you use in response to that, or do you chuckle at him? Do you start
the bedding chuckle? Like, if I get that, it's literally like, okay, he's bedded down here. And sometimes, like, most of the time, you only get one out of them. Sometimes you get two. But you've got to, like, and honestly, like, I don't know if you've listened, like, I know you've talked to what the heck is that guy's name? The elk nut, Paul Mandel.
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah.
Like, me and him, every time I listen to him, I'm like, man, he's just, like, verifying that for me. Like, the guy is awesome. He's really good at explaining sequences and, like, just scenarios in the woods.
My favorite thing about Paul is how absolutely fired up he gets about talking about elk. You know, he gets so excited. He's so passionate. And I should call him, man. I haven't talked to him in a while. I should get him back on the show.
You should. That guy is a wealth of info, and it's all learned. And it's like, but like, you might get one or two responses out of that bull. So if you get a bull like that, you almost have to just, like, pick your best judgment and be like, hey, I think he's over here. I think we need to get, like, look at your set, pull your onyx out. The bull's not going anywhere. He's bedded, right? what's the rush to get down there? Like, pick that area apart, look at your onX and be like, hey, why would, like, what area, like the topography, the trees, like, what area would that bull, if I was that bull, where would I want to be at? Like, try to learn that and make your best judgment and start working your way towards it. And then, get in close and start that raking sequence. The raking, the huffing, the puffing, like, you're not super intrusive, but you're making elk noises and you're in his bubble. Like, that's where that works really good for me. It's like,
I think in all of those circumstances too, that kind of what you're describing, especially in that last one, it's really important for people to kind of stay on their toes in that situation, because a lot of times these bulls will get up and they'll just come in silent. They're not going to tell you they're coming. They just, curiosity is taken over. And if you're, I can't tell you how many times I've blown it because I forget to pay attention when I know that I've had a response from a bull, or sometimes I haven't had a response. They just come in quiet anyway. But, you know, and then I just, like, it's 10 minutes has gone by. I have, like, what do they call that? ADHD or whatever. And I'm like, okay, well, anyway, and I start walking and boom, there's a bull right there. And he just saw me and now he's blasting out of here and he's going to be in freaking Tennessee by sunfall or nightfall. So anyway, no, man, this is all great stuff, man. I think let's leave it there, because that's a lot of information for folks to digest. And that's a heck of a good conversation. I feel like, you know, we got something that people could really sink their teeth in on this episode. And for me, the key takeaway just from that, you know, those times I've hunted with you, that I hope the audience really picks up on is that really quiet. I can't remember what chuckle you called that, but that introductory, almost locator type chuckle, where you're coming in and you're trying to crack a stick to get their attention, and then doing that real soft chuckle. Man, if you just sit there at a wallow in the woods, guys, and there's elk all around you, you're going to find that that's really how they talk to each other. That's a lot of their communication is just those little chuckles like that. And, you know, that might change a little bit in more open country. You know, sound carries a lot in these areas that, like, Steve and I are hunting in a lot. It's real thick, it's real brushy. And on those quiet days, you can hear those from quite a ways away, where if you were in, like, central Colorado, you know, those big open basins or something, they might, that might change up a little bit. But, you know, for those of us that live up in the North Country, that's really solid advice. And I think people should really key in on learning that call.
Yeah, no, for sure. And just pay attention to what they're doing. And, like, that, I guess, if you want to just full circle the whole wallow thing and everything, it's like, set a wallow and watch how they behave. You know, if that's your one opportunity, or put a camera on a wallow and put it in video mode and see how that bull is talking to the cows when he's in there at the wallow.
Yeah.
Because he's making noise and, like, he'll be splashing around and everything's a little chaotic and the cows run off and they'll start working their way up the hill and say he's still in that puddle and he's just going at it. And then he loses track of where the cows go. And now all of a sudden the cows are like 150, 200 yards up the hill. He's going to look up and kind of look around and you'll see his head bob back and forth. And then he's going to do, like, hey, where did you go? He's going to start letting some voice out. Like, you know, man. It'll start to, you'll see the emotion. Like, pay attention to the emotions of elk. It'll go a long ways. But yeah, it's
over the years,
time, Jim.
over the years, people have asked, like, they'll be like, hey man, like, how do I just learn a lot about, where do I go to just learn a lot about elk? And I tell them, brother, go get around elk, go be around elk, watch videos about elk. I don't care if it's a dumb Yellowstone National Park documentary. Go watch videos. Go to an elk farm. Go to these refugees, like places like Yellowstone. We were talking, you know, everybody wants to go into Yellowstone to get their butts thrown into the air by the bison or whatever. No, don't. Who cares about the bison? Go find the elk and watch them. They actually, in places like that, they don't get hunted. They don't get very much pressure. They'll let you get pretty close. And, you know, safe distance, obviously. I got to throw that disclaimer out there. You know, I own 28 acres where the elk would would winter back when I had that old property. And they'd come down in winter. I'd just go sit up on the ridge and I'd just watch them. They're only 50 yards from me. You hear those little nuances, those sounds. Just go be around elk. Elk farms are great, by the way. That's where I learned that bulls, big giant bull elk, will cow call like a little sissy cow. And especially if they want to carrot, you'll learn that those little cow calls, the bulls will do that. So anyway, well, I've kept you long enough, brother, man. I really appreciate it. I always love having you on the show. More so, I love hunting with you, and hopefully we're going to be able to at least get a day in this coming year, because I'll definitely have the old Idaho tag. It's going to be a good time. So
let's do it.
Do you any social channels you want people to know about? Social media, YouTube's, anything like that?
I haven't been on I've got a Facebook and an Instagram, and I haven't really been on there a whole lot. It's just been a busy year and just a lot going on. New baby, new house, just how it goes. So, but yeah, I do. I have it's Stevie35 on Instagram, Stevie_35, or just look up Steven Johnson. That's my Facebook and my Instagram, STEPHEN. So
cool.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, you heard it. You can go find them there. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Thanks again to Precision Pay, Easton Archery, Browning, and Leupold Optics, and specifically for School of September. Phelps Game Calls. Phelps is the oldest sponsor on the Western Huntsman, so I really want to give them a shout out on these School of September episodes, because they're the ones that really they were the first ones to give me a shot at this whole podcasting thing. I never dreamed it would go this long, but thanks to companies like Phelps Game Calls and the other sponsors that we have, I'm able to keep it going. And if you guys want to jump on the Phelps website and check out the calls there, you've got plenty of time to get your calls, get used to them, get them broke in, whatever you need to do. Definitely, I highly recommend this Renegade tube that we both are carrying here. Phelps has a lot of other great options if you want to look at those as well. But for me, that Renegade is super versatile. It's lightweight. You can really reach out and touch them if you want to get loud, and you can also be really quiet with it. And when it knocks into a tree branch, it doesn't sound like a big plastic PVC pipe. So I don't know how they do it, but use promo code Huntsman10 at checkout. It'll save you 10%. But sometimes they run specials at their website for like more than that. So pay attention to that. If there's one for 20%, use that one. So thank you guys for tuning in. Thanks again to Steve Johnson. God bless you, buddy. I appreciate you.
It's been a pleasure. And thanks for having me.
I'll hit the old stop record button, and we'll just talk to you soon.
Sounds good, brother.
You made it. That's the end of the episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please make sure you're following us on Instagram at The Western Huntsman, and write us a good review at Apple Podcasts. Thanks, guys. See you next time. Stay Western, and I'll see you on